My ex-husband laughed when I caught him cheating with his 24-year-old assistant, so I went nuclear and did this during our divorce. Now he's living in his car while she's dating his boss. So a bit of background. Walter and I have been married for 17 years. He's the chief marketing officer at this big advertising firm in the city, and we have two amazing kids, Emma, 15, and Liam, 13. We met in college, God, that feels like a lifetime ago, and used to joke about growing old together. We even had this stupid little tradition where he'd bring home chocolate croissants every Friday morning, which now that I think about it, he's forgotten for like the past 6 weeks straight. Should have been my first clue, I guess. I used to be a financial analyst, pretty good one too, but scaled back when the kids were born. Walter's career was really taking off, and someone had to be there for the kids, you know? And I don't regret it. I really don't. But sometimes I do wonder what my career could have been if I hadn't stepped back. But whatever, that's not the point of this post. So anyway, I started noticing Walter acting different a few months ago. Nothing major at first, just little things. Working late all the time, like every night, suddenly starting this intense gym routine after years of claiming he was too busy to exercise, changing passwords on his phone and laptop, just being emotionally absent, like he wasn't really there with us anymore. The way I found out was so cliche, it's almost laughable, except I'm definitely not laughing. Yesterday, he asked me to check something on his phone while he was driving us to this dinner with friends. A text came in, and I saw the preview on the screen from someone named Amber talking about what hotel room they were meeting in that afternoon and how she couldn't wait to see him again. I almost threw up right there in the car. I scrolled through more messages while he was focused on driving. My heart was pounding the whole time. And oh my freaking God, there were so many explicit texts going back months. The worst part, I've actually met this girl at the company Christmas party. She's his executive assistant they hired like 8 months ago. I remember thinking she seemed sweet, but kind of young and inexperienced. She literally just graduated college last year. And now that I think about it, Walter had been mentioning Amber this and Amber that a lot recently. God, I'm so stupid. I somehow managed to keep it together through dinner with our friends. Don't ask me how, but as soon as the kids went to bed, I confronted him. I still can't believe how it went down. I showed him the texts, and at first, he tried to deny everything. Said I was taking it out of context. How the hell do you take "last night was amazing, can't wait to taste you again" out of context? When I showed him more evidence from his phone that I'd looked through, he switched to saying it was just physical and didn't mean anything. I started crying and asked how he could do this to our family after 17 years together. And you know what this asshole did? He laughed, like actually laughed at me crying. Then he told me that this happens when you let yourself go, and that men in his position have options. I felt so hurt. When I asked how long it had been happening, he admitted 5 months. 5 months! He had the nerve to say that Amber understands his needs and supports his ambitions, whatever the fuck that means. I told him to get out of the house. He warned me not to be hasty because he built everything we have, and I wouldn't survive without him. His exact words. Like I'm some helpless child who didn't help build our entire life together. He's been gone for 3 days now, and I'm just lost. Telling the kids was awful. Emma is furious with her dad. She's always been daddy's little girl, so this is hitting her especially hard. And Liam has basically stopped talking altogether. He just stays in his room playing video games. I contacted a divorce attorney yesterday. Still feels surreal to even type that. And apparently our financial situation is way more complicated than I realized. Walter has been handling all our finances for the past 8 years or so. He insisted on taking it over because he said it was too stressful for me on top of taking care of the kids. I always trusted him completely with our money. God, I'm such an idiot. Walter's still texting me about random house stuff, like nothing happened. At first I thought maybe he was regretting everything and trying to open communication. But then Emma told me he already told her he's planning to move Amber into a new place once our divorce is final. Our daughter. He told our daughter about his plans with the woman he cheated with. Who does that? My attorney warned me that without evidence of Walter's financial stuff, it could be hard to get my fair share. He said Walter might have been strategic with our assets. I can barely sleep. I've lost like 7 pounds in 3 days, ironically addressing Walter's comment about letting myself go, I guess. and I'm terrified about keeping things stable for the kids. But then tonight, while I was searching for documents in our home office, I remembered something. The laptop in the attic. The old one Walter thought I threw away years ago after he gave me a new one as a gift. That laptop has all our financial spreadsheets and email accounts from when I used to handle our finances before Walter took over. I may have stepped back from my finance career to support his, but he seems to have forgotten who balanced our first budget and managed our investments when his company was still struggling. Perhaps it's time to refresh his memory. Edit. Some people are asking why I didn't see the signs earlier. Trust me, I'm asking myself the same question. Looking back, there were probably a million red flags I missed. He started working late, a lot more. He got really protective of his phone. He bought new clothes. Started using this cologne he'd never worn before. Classic cheating behavior, I guess. But when you've been with someone for 17 years, you just don't want to believe they could do this to you. Edit 2. To clarify about our finances, yes, I know it was stupid to let him take complete control, but it happened gradually over time. At first, he just offered to help out because I was so busy with the kids. Then eventually, he was handling everything. He'd give me these monthly summaries that I now realize probably left out a ton of information. Edit 3. For those asking if I'm going to try to save the marriage for the kids, honestly, I don't know. Part of me feels like I should try for their sake, but the way he laughed at me and what he said about letting myself go, I don't know if I can ever look at him the same way again. And the fact that he's already planning a future with her, it feels pretty final. Now for the first update. So a lot has happened since my last post about discovering my husband's affair with his 23-year-old assistant. Thank you to everyone who commented with support and advice. I haven't been sleeping much these past few weeks. My mind just keeps racing with everything that's happening. But weirdly, I also feel more alive than I have in years. Is that a horrible thing to admit when your marriage is imploding? Anyway, I finally have a bit of an update about what's been going on. So remember that old laptop I mentioned finding in the attic? The one Walter thought I'd thrown away years ago. Well, I've basically been living on that thing for the past 2 weeks. And holy shit, you guys, holy shit. I wasn't planning on becoming some kind of amateur detective, but once I started looking through our old financial records, I couldn't stop. It was like my old financial skills came back after all these years. And suddenly, I was pulling all-nighters, making spreadsheets, and following money trails like I was back in my 20s. I started by just looking through our old tax returns and bank statements to get a sense of what we actually have. But then I realized I still had access to our shared cloud storage account that Walter probably forgot about, and our old email accounts were still logged in on this laptop. I didn't even know what I was looking for at first, but then I found this folder labeled AMC Consulting that I didn't recognize. At first I thought maybe it was related to his job, but the more I dug into it, guys, he's been skimming money from his company for years. He set up these fake vendor accounts that bill his firm for consulting services that never happened. And he's been using the company credit card for personal expenses, but categorizing them as client entertainment or business development. I literally got sick when I realized what I was looking at. This was not the man I thought I married. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is I found emails from 3 fucking years ago where he was consulting with a divorce attorney about how to hide assets from me. 3 years. While he was planning our anniversary trip to Italy and telling me how excited he was for the next chapter of our lives. I can't even describe how it felt reading those emails. It was like being betrayed all over again, but somehow even worse. Because this wasn't just about sex with some young girl. This was years of calculated planning to eventually screw me over. To the people who commented on my last post saying I should have seen the signs earlier, yeah, you were right, but the signs weren't just about the affair. Walter has apparently been planning his exit strategy for years. I just never wanted to see it. After a few days of digging, I realized I needed professional help with this. My divorce attorney recommended this forensic accountant who specializes in uncovering hidden assets. I was hesitant about the cost at first, but he's been worth every penny. The accountant confirmed what I suspected. Walter has an offshore account I never knew about and has been systematically hiding money for years. He even found evidence that Walter was planning to claim our business was worth way less than it actually is during divorce proceedings. Meanwhile, Walter keeps calling me about accepting his generous settlement offer by the end of the week. I've been playing dumb, saying I'm too emotional to make decisions yet. And let me tell you, it is killing me not to confront him with what I know, but my lawyer said to keep quiet until we have everything documented. Walter was on the phone yesterday saying I'm too emotional and that he'll handle everything because finances aren't my thing. Like I'm some helpless idiot who never understood money. I was literally teaching him how to read financial statements when we first met. I recorded the whole conversation, which my lawyer said is legal in our state, where he basically implied that fighting him would leave me with nothing. Then later that night, I saw a text he sent to Amber through our shared photo cloud that he forgot to disconnect. She has no idea what's coming. Yeah, well, neither does he. Oh, and Walter's mom called me yesterday. At first, I thought maybe she was calling to check on me or the kids or something. Nope. She wanted to ask me not to ruin Walter's life over one mistake. I almost laughed. One mistake. Try years of financial fraud and planning to leave me with nothing after I gave up my career for his. So yesterday was the first meeting with both our lawyers to discuss the initial settlement. Walter's lawyer was this smug guy in an expensive suit who kept addressing all the questions to Walter instead of me. They offered me this generous settlement where Walter would keep our house, pay minimal child support, no alimony, and I would get like 20% of our visible assets. When they finished laying out their offer, Walter had this little smirk on his face like he'd already won. My lawyer just calmly asked if they wanted to revise before we presented our counter. Walter's lawyer said there was nothing to revise. And then my lawyer pulled out these folders. She handed one to Walter, one to his lawyer, and kept one for herself. Walter turned white as he flipped through those pages. I've been married to this man for 17 years, and I have never seen that expression before. He started whispering frantically to his lawyer, who looked increasingly panicked. Then Walter asked for a break and tried to talk to me privately, but I refused to speak without the lawyers present. Suddenly, Walter was offering a much better settlement right there on the spot. My lawyer just calmly said we'd need full financial disclosure and forensic accounting before agreeing to anything. By the end of the meeting, Walter had agreed to all my conditions. Full custody with generous visitation, I keep the family home, fair division of all assets, including the ones he thought I'd never find, college funds for the kids stay untouched, and full financial transparency going forward with penalties if more hidden assets are discovered. As we were leaving, Walter told me I'd regret this. Like, seriously, you'll regret this, Walter, not me. Emma told me last night that Walter complained to her about having to cancel their summer vacation plans because of financial pressure. I figured he was just being petty and trying to make the kids blame me. But then this morning, Walter called me freaking out, accusing me of sabotaging him at work. I had no idea what he was talking about. I haven't contacted his company or anything, but apparently Amber has been having a lot of closed-door meetings with Jerry, the CEO, lately, and there are rumors going around about financial irregularities at the company. Walter was asking what exactly I told my lawyer to do, and I honestly told him I just told him to find the truth. I'm still processing all of this. Part of me is vindicated, but another part is just sad that our whole marriage was apparently built on lies. The kids are handling it as well as can be expected. Emma is still furious with her dad, but at least she's talking about it. Liam is finally opening up a little in therapy. Anyway, that's where things stand right now. I have no idea what's going to happen with Walter's job situation, but that's honestly not my problem anymore. I'm focused on rebuilding my life and taking care of our kids. Edit. For those asking why Walter would jeopardize his career with financial fraud, I honestly don't know. We were already doing really well financially. I think maybe he got used to a certain lifestyle and wanted to maintain it post-divorce. Or maybe he just got greedy and thought he was too smart to get caught. I'm still trying to understand it myself. Edit 2. Several people have asked if I'm going to report Walter to the authorities for the fraud. I'm not planning to. That's for his company to handle if they discover it. My focus is just on making sure the kids and I are protected financially. I never wanted to destroy him just to get my fair share. Edit 3. To answer everyone asking about the offshore account, yes, it's significant. No, I had no idea it existed until now. Walter set it up through a shell company that I never knew about. And yes, my lawyer is making sure it's included in our asset division. Edit 4. Thanks for the supportive comments about my financial skills. It actually feels really good to be using that part of my brain again after so many years. I'm even considering going back to work in finance once the divorce is settled, maybe with a flexible schedule so I can still be there for the kids. I forgot how much I loved it. Now for the second update. It's been a few months since my last update, and wow, so much has happened. I keep starting to write this post and then stopping because I honestly can't believe how much has changed. My life feels completely different now than it did just a few months ago. So, where to even begin? I guess the biggest update is that Walter got fired. Like, completely fired. And not just fired, but the company is pursuing legal action against him for the financial stuff I found. Let me back up a bit. After that meeting with the lawyers, where Walter realized I had found all his hidden assets and offshore accounts, things moved pretty quickly with the divorce proceedings. My lawyer insisted we file everything through the proper legal channels instead of just taking Walter's settlement offer. Thank God. What I didn't realize at the time is that once you file for divorce, a lot of that financial information becomes part of the court record. And apparently, court records aren't exactly private if someone knows where to look. So about 3 weeks after that meeting, I got this call from Walter screaming at me about how I ruined his life and betrayed him. Projection much. I had no idea what he was talking about until he told me he'd been called into a meeting with HR and the company's legal team about financial irregularities. I swear I never contacted his company. I mean, I thought about it like a million times, but my lawyer advised against it because it could complicate the divorce. But I found out later from Janet, my friend who still works at Walter's company, that Amber had gone to Jerry, the CEO, with concerns about some financial stuff she had noticed. Apparently, Amber saw the writing on the wall once she realized Walter was going down and decided to save herself. Smart girl, I guess. Anyway, the company did this internal investigation and found all the stuff I had discovered, the fake vendor accounts, the personal expenses charged as business expenses, etc., and apparently a bunch more stuff I hadn't even found. They fired him immediately and are suing to recover the funds. The day after he was fired, Walter sent me a text saying he was sorry and wanted to talk. And for a split second, I actually felt bad for him. Why am I like this? But then I found out from Emma that he only sent that because he wanted me to call Jerry and explain that there had been a misunderstanding. So basically, he was still trying to manipulate me. Some things never change, I guess. When I first heard about Walter getting fired, I had this really complicated reaction. Part of me felt satisfied that the truth had come out, but another part was worried about how this would affect the kids and their relationship with their dad. And I was also concerned about child support if Walter couldn't get another job. It's so confusing to care about someone's well-being when they've hurt you so badly. I never wanted to hurt Walter, just to get what was fair for me and the kids. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little vindicated seeing him face consequences for once in his life. Is that terrible of me? Probably. So then last month, Walter showed up at the house unannounced. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. I was about to tell him to leave, but he said he needed to talk about the kids, so I reluctantly let him in. As soon as the door closed, he started accusing me of destroying his career on purpose. He kept saying I had no right to contact his company and asking how I could do this to him. I stayed really calm and explained I never contacted anyone at his company. He didn't believe me and said I must have told someone. I tried explaining how divorce proceedings create public records that anyone can access, but he kept interrupting me saying I should have just accepted his settlement offer instead of making it legal. The audacity. I reminded him he was the one who threatened to leave me with nothing if I fought him. And then he just started crying on my kitchen floor about facing potential criminal charges and his life being over. It was so bizarre seeing this man who's always been so controlled just falling apart. I felt this weird mix of pity and anger. Like I actually made him a cup of coffee while also making it very clear I wasn't going to help him fix this mess. Things have gotten even worse for Walter financially since then. He's got legal fees from both the divorce and the potential criminal charges. Plus, the company is demanding repayment, and he's under audit from the IRS because of all the disclosures in our divorce. Emma told me last week that Walter had to move out of his fancy downtown apartment because he couldn't afford it anymore. Get this, he's been living in his Audi, like sleeping in his car and showering at the gym. He's still trying to maintain appearances, but Emma said he's been wearing the same 3 shirts in rotation for weeks. It's actually really sad. I mean, he brought this on himself completely, but it's still hard to see someone you spent 17 years with hit rock bottom like that. But here's what's even worse. Amber is now dating Jerry. Yeah, the CEO. Emma overheard some parents talking at school about how they'd been seen together at restaurants and events. And then last week, I was at this school fundraiser thing, and Amber was there. Why? She doesn't even have kids. With Jerry. And she was telling someone that she had no idea what Walter was doing, and that Jerry has been very supportive. I'm not gonna lie, part of me was like, karma's a bitch, Walter. But another part felt weirdly sympathetic. Like, he threw away our entire marriage for this girl who was apparently using him the whole time. It's just so pathetic. Then yesterday, Walter called and asked if we could meet at this coffee shop near my new office. I probably should have said no, but curiosity got the better of me. He looked even worse than before, completely unshaven, clothes all wrinkled. He told me he's been sleeping in his car for 2 weeks because he can't afford a deposit on a new place. He showed me photos on social media of Amber and Jerry at some company retreat in Aspen. Then he told me he thinks Amber had access to all his passwords and financial info for months before everything blew up. He's convinced she was gathering information for Jerry the whole time they were together. I pointed out how ironic it was that he was betrayed by Amber just like he betrayed me. He actually agreed, which surprised me. Then he asked if he could stay in our guest room until he gets back on his feet. I said no. I mean, I felt bad for him in that moment, but there's no way I'm letting him back into our home after everything. I did offer to help him find some affordable housing options, though. Why am I still helping him? As for me, I've actually started working again. I got a position at this financial analysis firm with flexible hours so I can still be there for the kids. It feels amazing to be using my brain for something other than figuring out carpool schedules. I forgot how much I loved this work. The kids are adjusting. They're both in therapy, which has been really helpful. Emma has calmed down a lot from her initial anger, and Liam is finally talking more about his feelings. Walter has visitation, but it's limited and supervised for now. It's hard for him to maintain his relationship with the kids when he's living in his car, and I can tell they're confused about seeing their dad struggling so much. Walter finally found a small studio apartment and got an entry-level job at a much smaller firm. One of his old colleagues took pity on him, I guess. It's weird. Part of me is glad he's getting back on his feet because it's better for the kids, but another part is still so angry about everything he did. I keep wondering if I should have handled things differently. Like, could I have protected myself and the kids without Walter losing absolutely everything? But then I remember, I didn't actually do anything to him. I just refused to let him screw me over, and then refused to help cover up his crimes. The rest was just consequences of his own actions. I'm trying to focus on rebuilding my life and helping the kids heal, rather than dwelling on bitterness. But it's complicated. Some days I feel strong and hopeful, and other days I just cry in the shower where the kids can't hear me. I think this will be my final update since the divorce is almost finalized and we're all moving forward as best we can. Thank you to everyone for your support through this crazy journey. I never thought at 42 I'd be starting over, but here we are. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I feel guilty about Walter's downfall. It's complicated. I didn't actively try to destroy him. I just refused to be his victim or help him cover things up. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't seeking revenge, but simply refusing to protect someone from their own actions. Edit 2. To answer questions about the kids, yes, they know most of what happened. Not all the financial details, but they know their dad had an affair and then lost his job because of some money problems at work. They've seen him struggling, and it's confusing for them. The therapist says it's important to be honest, age appropriately, rather than making up stories.